Alliance update, we're going to go over some recent events, kind of where we're headed over the next couple months, go over some ISK making opportunities just that we kind of want to reinforce and make available to people, and then just go over some things we're trying to do just to make sure the Alliance experience is great for anyone, and also very open to ideas or suggestions on that latter bit. So if you've got ideas or had ideas over the last couple of weeks that you wanted to do, feel free to let us know. And then we'll wrap up with some Q&A, and you can drop questions into iGeneral when we get there. So, kind of kicking it off with recent events. I know it's been a little while since we've done a U.S. time zone town hall, so we wanted to do, or not a town hall, but an Alliance meeting, so we wanted to do that here. But wanted to kind of go back to when we originally deployed and just kind of start from there and give a quick update. So, a couple months ago, we were down in ESO. We're back down here now. When we originally deployed, we were largely coming down to help our friends from RMC get situated and move over from Impasse to ESO, and we were able to successfully do that, which was fantastic. We also were able to get some good fights from Fire. I know our US time zone, we had some good fights with them, particularly in TR07. And then as we pushed further on, roughing some structures, but didn't actually follow up on a bunch of timers. But obviously, we're kind of doing that now, which is great. After we did that deployment, it kind of became clear we weren't going to get a ton of fights unless we did decide to follow up on those timers. And so essentially, we decided to go back to Fountain just because we didn't want to go full war mode on our own, taking fights outnumbered. And so we headed back to Fountain, and at that point, kind of set up shop there. But what ended up happening was we ended up coming down to ESO almost every night for a couple weeks as a test and horde sig, set up shop in TR07 and started hitting ESO SOV and ESO structures of RMC, which we didn't want to have happen, in particular as RMC and Stain Russ had set a ceasefire during the kind of early part of the real-life Russian-Ukraine conflict. So wanted to make sure that we were able to support our allies kind of during that time when they had that ceasefire. And so what ended up happening is, I mean, you guys being US time zone, you kind of know what was happening because we were frequently the ones heading down there, but we were going down there every night, saving jump bridges, saving iHubs, and so at that point, Goons decided to deploy their kind of SIG called Goonswarm Expeditionary Force, and we shortly thereafter deployed our SIG, the Warhammer SIG, which I can never pronounce, so I call it the Wormhammer SIG, but I think it's something Astartes related. So we've now both basically got our SIGs down there and we're able to kind of successfully kind of push them off their attacks on ESO, and now we are all set up in Faith Abolus. So that kind of brings us to today in terms of recent events. I'm going to swap over to short-term alliance direction and kind of where we're headed, both from a military front down in Faith Abolus, as well as what we're thinking on the economy front as well back home in Fountain. So from a military standpoint, there's a couple of things going on that we'll cover here. So just staging deployment logistics and some of our new doctrines just to hit on. And I know some of these things aren't that new, but just want to make sure that we cover it so everybody has opportunities to ask questions. So staging and deployment. So right now, the SIG, the Astartes SIG, is deployed to ESO and Faith. Right now, they are based in TR07. I know some folks are in 3L, some folks may have stuff in D-P. And I know the broader alliance also has things in D-P. Now, what I've just said is very confusing, and I understand that. So one of the things that we're going to make very clear kind of coming out of this is just where everybody should be. So just at a very high level, D-P is going to remain our forward staging for all of these kind of broader activities in the South. and there's going to be regular move ops from B170 to D-P, kind of as they've been happening, but kind of on a more regular basis. Now, once you're in D-P, if you're not in the SIG, or even if you are in the SIG, what we'll do is we'll have convoys from D-P to our forward location, kind of wherever that will be. The plan is to have those be, I can't remember the days, but I think 3 times a week, and we're going to have those joint with goons. And so to kind of facilitate that happening, want to encourage everyone to sign up for Goon Mumble. I know I've sent out pings on this a couple times, but join Goon Mumble. For the most part, the comms will be kind of dual across Init and Goons, but in the event that no Init FC is around and you just need to join the convoy for that day, it would be great if you had Goon Mumble just to make sure that there aren't any issues. You all do a ping after the meeting, just with instructions on how to do that. And then finally, just new doctrines. Well, really, it's just one new doctrine, but maybe we're bringing them back in a stronger way. So, Abaddons and Navy APOCs and armor support. So, Abaddons, these are a doctrine that we've had for a while. We've done a few refits to them to take advantage of some of the recent CCP battleship changes, which gave increased armor HP from plates to battleships. So we're really excited about that, and we've been using them. And then Navy APOCs, which are pretty exciting faction battleships, very similar to the Abaddon in terms of fit, but the whole bonus there gives you increased application in the form of optimal range and tracking. So we're pretty excited about those. Those are the new doctrine. They're called Voidhawk. So feel free to take a look after the meeting or during the meeting. And hopefully you can get one moved down to D-P. Finally, on the doctrine front, I wouldn't exactly call this a new doctrine, but we've released some armor support ships. I know that for much of the last 3, 4, 5 years, I don't remember how long, shield hacks have basically been the jam. So it's been Jackdaws, it's been Ramjags, it's been Scram Hawks, all that stuff that's been kind of shield, that's been lights. And so what we want to do is make sure that folks are bringing appropriate armor support ships when we're using those armor battleship doctrines. So it's Retributions, it's Pontifexes, it's Deacons, those kinds of things, Heretics, Heiresses, Pilgrims, just to make sure that when you're using those ships, you can get reps and not immediately die as well. So that's the military update for the immediate direction. So I'm realizing the one thing I didn't cover is kind of what the plan is for down south, and right now we're just kind of taking it as we go. We're in Faith Ballast right now. We are trying to clean up that region, and then from there we'll make some decisions just around what is next, or if there is a next, once we wrap up Faith Ballast. So shifting to the economy. So I mentioned after we did the full deployment of the full alliance down to D-P. Once we moved back to Fountain after that full deployment, things really kicked back into gear from an alliance income standpoint, which is great. Moons really continue to be our primary source of income, along with all of the NPC studios that we've been running. And so we've actually acquired some fairly significant assets through running those studios. We did an op jointly with Goons where they got, I think it was a Moloch and a Dagon blueprint. So we always split those things when we call each other in to help. And then as an alliance, we separately ran some Blood Raider and Garista studios and got a Komodo, Cayman, and Dagon BPC as well. So if you're looking to sell one, you can feel free to, if you're looking to buy one, you can feel free to DM me or Shines. But all that income that we all spend a bunch of time trying to run goes directly into the SRP wallet and to Initiative Holdings. So really appreciate you guys investing the time to run those. And it's really helping out with Alliance finances. So regarding moons, CCP made some changes recently. So with compression, some changes to Rorks, increases to the subcap miners, the exhumers, and the mining barges, as well as the jump conduit, which I know people are probably still just getting the modules for. mining has really kicked off in Fountain, which has been really exciting to see. If you haven't seen it yet, I think there's pinned in the mining channel a new tool which allows you to see of the active moons. So any moon that's popped, I think it's within the last 3 or 4 days. So any moon that's popped in the last 3 to 4 days, there's a tool that allows you to see what's been mined from the moon. And it's been pretty exciting to see folks mining R16, R8, along with R32 and R64. One, just because, it's money that was previously left on the table, but they're also, fairly valuable assets, particularly as you think about doing reactions to make ships and modules and what have you. So mining's going great. If you don't know much about mining, we'll do a quick overview in a second about mining and other ISK making opportunities, but iMining as a Discord channel is your friend. The other thing to highlight, and this is hot off the press news from just yesterday, but we started doing Alliance moon mining ops in Iridia. So Shines donated 2 of his moons that are in Huna, and I think we stripped the full moon and made about 20 billion that's going directly to the SRP fund. That was in EUTZ. I'm going to try and do the same thing for some moons on their next cycle for US time zone to make sure that I know a lot of you were asking how you could help, and so want to provide that opportunity to everybody. So probably in a little bit, I don't know exactly when, we'll pick a day that works, just given ops, but we'll have something going in US time zone as well. The other thing from an economy standpoint, have gotten a lot of feedback just around indexes in the B170 pocket, be it reaction, manufacturing, research. We're keeping an eye on them. I know that the LTAC1 reaction index was getting up around 7-8% a couple weeks ago. It's come down a little bit last I checked, but we're keeping an eye on it. And if things continue to go up to the point that it's adding too much cost to the things we're making, we will certainly think about dropping another industry hub. Now, with the thought of industry hubs, that does bring me to upcoming CCP changes. So one of the things that I think a lot of us hopefully are very excited about are potential capital changes, capital industry changes, which are very exciting. I think we've all seen that making any kind of capital right now is 7, 8, 9 bill. I actually don't even think more than 20 capitals have probably been built across New Eden in the last year. So hopefully CCP will be making some material requirement changes that brings that down to a more reasonable level. And as soon as they do, you can be certain that we'll be looking to take advantage of that, and there will be a capital industry park set up in the B170 pocket. So I think those changes should be announced in the next couple weeks. I don't have any inside information here, but that's what they said kind of before FanFest. So once that happens, we'll see what the changes are, and we'll go from there. So ISK making, second to last topic before we just get to a couple Alliance experience things, but ISK making, just a few things to flag if you are new to the Alliance, and I'll again kind of recap some of this with a ping after the meeting, but there's really 3 kind of core channels that I think a lot of people are probably excited about and paying attention to from an ISK making standpoint. There is iCareBear, which is really information or guides on how to rat and crab. Sorry, when I say crab, I mean doing the crab beacons in Fountain. There's iMining, which has information available about anything related to mining, but probably focuses, frankly, mostly on moons. And then there's the iFrac channel, which provides information about when moons in Fountain are fracking and when you can mine them. Quick note about iFrac. Basically, anything that pops in the iFrac channel, you are free to mine. You are also free to take control of the structure and fire the laser. Please do not reset the timers for when the moon will pop next. We have a drill team that's doing some fantastic work just setting those timers and making sure that it's equal across time zones. So feel free to fire lasers, feel free to mine anything that pops in iFrac, just don't reset the timer. And then missions, anybody that knows me knows that I absolutely detest missions and have never run a mission in my life. If you're new and don't know me, that's a joke. I've made most of my money doing missions, but iMission is for missions in Iridia and Fountain. Fountain missions, you can do Angel and Serpentis missions. The Angel ones are very common in Curse, so if you've run missions in Curse, you can do those. The Serpentis missions are how you can get Asclepian and Snake implants. You can see I'm already getting distracted by talking about missions. And then the Iridia missions are how you get the Navy APOCs. So we've really been pushing that to be able to supply that for the Alliance. So maybe last thing, and then we'll open it up for questions. So Alliance experience. So just a couple of things to hit on. So I know that, Init has grown a ton over the last 6 months, and we do have more newer members or members that may be playing as alphas. We are offering more fits for newer members. What I do want to encourage, though, is that if you can get into a mainline doctrine ship, you're an older player, you've got a lot of ISK, unless you're kind of on a time crunch, please do continue to get into a mainline ship, like the doctrine ship. But, obviously, if you're a newer member or you're alpha, please check out the alpha fits. Want to make sure that you're still able to join and have a good time on Alliance fleets. You may have seen my ping the other day, but I know that I'm certainly racking up some asset safety from all of our travels during the war. And so want to make sure that folks that maybe have things from previous alliances or even their experience here in it are able to pick those things up. So I don't have a timeline for this, but would love to do some asset safety trips from Villison, Ermelin, Vespera, Misaba, kind of you name it. I don't have a timeline on that, but look for probably some times on weekends in upcoming months, just so that we also don't interfere with operations. But would love to get your caps, get your minerals, get your industry stuff, get your ships out of those stations. 2012 Corp. So check out the 2012 Corp. It's on the wiki. It's basically similar to your Ghost. It's a Ghost tune, but it's based in HiSec, and we use it to fight war decks. If you're in game right now, you'll see that we are war decked by Black Flag. We have used these 2012 alts to fight off war deckers, so go kill their HiSec HQ, as well as defend some of our HiSec structures as part of our logistics routes. So if you're interested, you want some additional action potentially in HiSec, join the 2012 Alt Corp. I think that has hit on everything that I had to cover. Oh, one last thing. If you do have ideas from an Alliance experience perspective or things that you guys would love to see, certainly open to suggestions. I can promise that we won't be able to do everything, but do want to try and make sure everyone's having fun where they can. So certainly open to suggestions. So with that, I'm going to take a look at iGeneral, and as you have questions, feel free to pop them in there, and I'll try and get to all of them. I do want to wrap this up in about 10 to 15 minutes, as there is a timer that Iron Wolf's going to be forming for in about 40 minutes from now, I think. So want to give you guys a chance to have a break before then. All right, just going through these now. All right, Ankar, thank you. How do I get out of the chicken shit outfit? I do not have the answer for you. Is there a ping channel for 2012? No, we just ping S-White for that one. Dreadalts, yes, we can add that to the list of just things to do in terms of creating a skill plan to help make that a little bit easier for folks. Reaper, I do not know yet who's won to star, which corp's won. I can tell you it was not my corp. Conrad, 2012 applications were processed 10 minutes ago. So hopefully your tune is now in, or at least invited. I'm scrolling up, but Bob, yes, I do still have UMUN stuff myself, so I would like to do maybe a little wormhole op to get stuff. So I'm probably going to butcher the name, but Hazrathi the Second. Yeah, so I do know that incursion spawned in the J5A constellation. I think it's Centaur. Understand, not a lot of people want it. I think what is exciting is that there are a lot of incursions that spawn in Iridia. So maybe the next go, more people can be around to run it. What I might suggest is if you want to run incursions that spawn around the fountain area, I might try and get organized now, see who's interested, and get ready in advance so that the next time one spawns, everybody's ready to go. 2012 is still Hurricane Doctrine. Default fit is Whelp Canes, which is basically 425 auto cannons with tech to hail ammo, max gank. There is an artillery fit, but the auto cannons is default. We will do more mining ops. I am planning to do a few of my moons in SAL and just other moons in Iridia as well. So probably look for those in about a month, and we will do those US time zone. And I think Shines may keep his EU time zone just so we've got participation from all parts of the Alliance. Captain Malcolm, we are looking at further expansion into Iridia. We are hoping to have stuff that's within bridge range of Huna. We've got a few targets on our list, but at the moment with the deployment, we are trying to focus on the south versus Iridia. Jupiter, that's actually a very good thing to have, given we do have a lot of new players. I will take that. I think we've got a version of it, but it's probably not comprehensive, so we can definitely work on that. Legatus, yes. So you may have missed it, but we're going to have alliance move ops from B170 down to D-P on a regular basis, and then from D-P there will be Imperium-wide convoys from D-P forward. I did mention earlier just to try and set up Goon Mumble so that you're able to join those fleets, the convoy fleets, just in case there's not an init FC around to relay fleets communication. US and EU is not all parts of the Alliance. Obviously, there are other time zones. Shines and I that have moons in Iridia just happen to be based in EU and US. So if there's anyone that has AU time zone moons that they want to set or manage, they are more than welcome to. I'm also happy to set my moons to AU time zone, but I will not personally be around to coordinate those fleets. Bonka running an Alliance moon op would actually be fantastic to see. I'm sure he would have loved that. He loves PvE activities. And yes, there will be more US time zone cap move ops. We will see if we can get one of those sorted here in the next couple days. Guys, one of the other things that I want to just make super clear to everybody is that folks need to be on audit. If you're not on audit, one, you're just missing out on a lot of kind of information available for the Alliance, just in terms of being able to join more fleets, being able to join more channels. There's a lot of people that are on audit, but there's quite a few that aren't. So I would highly suggest that you do that. We are going to start removing tunes, ghost tunes that are not on audit. And it's also a fairly simple and straightforward process, by the way. And guys, if your ghost is removed, you're basically going to lose access to a lot of channels. You'll go back to S white basically requires a ghost tune, so you'll go down to what's called S gray, which basically doesn't get any pings besides reminders that you need to get a ghost. Dinner out? That's a very good question. We've been talking about this for almost a year and a half now, but we've got new members and some older members that haven't quite squared away. iSupport, yes, thank you, Aaron. iSupport is the place to go if you've got questions about audit and auth. Soul Machines is checked probably every couple days for new apps. You've got a ghost lead team. If a new corp joins, or we've got a ton of people, like potentially these ghosts that are going to be kicked, and a bunch of people start reapplying, they will of course check more frequently, but usually just kind of on a day-to-day basis. It's every 2 to 3 days, maybe slightly more frequently than that. Well, you guys can see in iGeneral, 84 ghosts have been kicked, 136 are about to be kicked. So yeah, get on audit. Any other questions about stuff, folks? I want to make sure I give folks a break before the next stop. I will say we are trying to add more content across time zones. You may have seen that we've added some additional skirmish FCs just to make sure that we're able to provide coverage as an FC team across time zones and across people having real life things. So looking to make sure that there's sufficient AU time zone and US time zone content. That is, of course, somewhat dependent on hostiles wanting to engage, but we're going to do what we can on our part. And yes, Ariel is very excited about the GM that is an AU time zone special. Ghosts, great question. Ghosts are supposed to be in D-P with Corms only. If you can't fly a Corm, hop in a Bantam or a Tackle or something. But be in D-P with your Ghost. You can have your Death Clones remaining in B170 just in case you want to do something else with your Ghost tune. But Ghost should be in D-P for the time being. Hazarathi, for the time being, just ghosts are mandatory. There are mandatory fits, like I Am Reaper just pointed out, for everything else. But no, aside from ghosts, there's no mandatory PvP fits that you need to be able to use. But I guess I would strongly encourage everyone to be training into our most commonly used doctrines, which at the time being, if I rattle off the top of my head, probably Eagles, Amar battleships, other Tech 2 cruisers, and Waji. And then, probably the support ships. And I didn't say it already, but yes, Plerkus is running Lokis in US time zone a whole bunch. So if you can't fly a Loki, that would be a great thing to start training into. Guys, at least for the time being, we're not going to make things mandatory, but I think many of you do enjoy content. Shvo does run a lot of Kiki fleets, and they are a ton of fun. I would highly suggest that all of you train into Kiki so that you can go on Shvo fleets. I believe the next fleet, let me just look. The next fleet is a timer, but we will get some move ops on the calendar, especially for US time zone, because I know that we haven't had them and folks have been asking. All right, guys, I see fewer questions from me and more discussion of doctrines, which I actually think is fantastic. I will work on that request. I think it was from Jupiter around what are some things that are mandatory. When jump bridge to 3L TAC Y? I think 33 days. 32 days, maybe? I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure it's in range. So I'll need to look at that. Once you have trained into the skill plan, once upon a time, I think we had ghosts training into ravens and roques. I don't think that's still needed, but once you get into ghosts and feroxes and moas and logi, I think at this point you can train into other things that you're excited about. Locust fleets, if we need them, we'll have them. I don't think we've needed them recently. I think locust fleets that have recently been formed have largely been for, as our friend David maybe calls them, for spookier moons and NPC Fountain. Guys, there's going to be a US time zone move up tomorrow night at 0100. Yeah, guys, sorry, I said ravens and roques just because there are a bunch of vets that may have their ghosts trained for those, but that's not required. I think part of the skill plan right now, I would go with the skill plan that's in the Ghost Corp. All right, I think we are running out of questions. Yeah, so Lord Croft, so if we need to run a locust fleet for whatever reason for a moon, we'll certainly look at it. Right now, everything in IFRAC is we try and have this policy of not necessarily everything going to the alliance all the time. We want line members to get wealthy at the same time as the alliance. So we don't want to necessarily take the fountain moons and give that all to the alliance. At least that's how we're planning it right now. Certainly, I guess that could change in the future, but right now the moons for the war chest are the moons that we've got based in Iridio, and folks want to volunteer them. So Rainmakers are down right now for the SIG. As we kind of figure out what logistics we want to have, and we've sorted out the convoys and moving stuff, but as we figure out kind of better or just a better sense of what we need operationally, we certainly could move Rainmakers down, but right now, no firm plans to do so. Guys, I'm going to cap it at one more question if any of the folks typing right now have one, but otherwise I'm going to shut it down and then, all right, last question here. Wow, okay. So the last reasonable question here. So for shifts in DP when fleets are called in TR or 3L, yeah, so right now, the SIG is kind of forward deployed past D-P, and the Alliance has a lot of assets in D-P. So if an Alliance-wide S-White fleet is called, there will be a way to get from D-P to the forward location. If it's just the SIG, it'll form in TR or 3L or wherever the SIG is deployed. Does that make sense? So be it the jump bridge or Titan bridging or what have you, we'll make sure that the full alliance is able to get to the fleet if the full alliance is pinged. All right, and with that, I think we will wrap it up. Iron Wolf's going to form in about 20 minutes for a timer. If you guys weren't able to join one of the previous Alliance meetings, we are going to try and do these more time zone specific Alliance meetings every couple weeks. You guys will probably have to listen to me, which is unfortunate for all of you, but we are going to try and rotate a bit so that there's just more frequent communication. Frankly, at the moment, I don't anticipate any major announcements from these more frequent Alliance meetings, but when there is, we'll kind of make that apparent and more folks can pile in. But that's all I got for today, and we'll see you probably in the next couple weeks. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.